can't. Have you muted everyone, Francis?
Oh yeah, let me check. Okay, I've muted everyone. Let me just make sure I have my original sound on. And then here is our chant.
Thank you. Don't forget to turn off your original sound.
Yes, I can hear.
And I just want to say,
making lunch right now, so I should do that.
I just want to say while we're recording, just for anyone that's watching back, that the next class is going to be 3 weeks. The next time we gather together, yeah, it's going to be 3 weeks. So that is right, isn't it, Francis? Yeah, Sunday the 9th. So instead of the usual 2, we'll meet again on Sunday 9th of November, just to travels and stuff. And that's going to be at 9:00 a.m. Eastern.
And we should be back at our regular time differences by November 9th. So there won't be all this calculating and all of this.
Actually, that's true. Yeah.
Stuff. All right. Yeah. So where we left off for our Sandhi review, just close this. We ended at 336. Before any vowel but short original final us becomes and the vowel hiatus remains unchanged. So that was the last rule that we looked at together, and we're going to do 340 to 359, and I have an hour. Okay, so there are a few instances. Oh yeah, and I'll just repeat really quickly. The ones that I've highlighted are the ones that Professor Bryant highlighted or pointed out, and then I put a couple of extra notes in there that I thought were important to also be a part of the review. But the ones that are highlighted in yellow were the ones he let us know to pay particular attention to. So original final ar. There are a few instances of original final ar before non-voiced consonants in absolute final position behaves like final us. So they're the same as 3.29c. Before voiced sounds, except r, the r will remain. So don't forget, Sanskrit does not allow consonantal sequence. So 2 ras following each other. And this was in 3.29b. There are a few instances in the language where ra is preceded by a vowel other than a. The rules for these are the same as those for ar. Final ar should not be confused with us, though original final sa after non-a vowels becomes ra before an initial voice sound. This was 3.29b. And original final ra becomes ash, ash, or us in the same environments as does original final us. I'm just going to put this reference here because that's what this is referring to. Okay. Before voiced initials, original finals us and as become ar and ar. Original final ar never becomes o. Original final ar is virtually restricted to two adverbs. Punar, which means again, and pratar, in the morning. And we are to learn these two words with the original final r to avoid confusion. So these are going to be words that end in ar that we're going to see. So an example, punar, punar becomes punah, punah, because here we have a ara becoming a visarga before a non-voiced. And then we have but, punar, punar, danavan, hanti becomes punah, punar. So the ra remains in front of a voiced. Dhanavan, there's an extra vowel there accidentally. Dhanavan, hanti. Here we have pratar agamishyati. And again, the ra remains prior to a voiced. All vowels are voiced.
May I?
Yes, Eleanor.
Why didn't the previous one stay punach, punar? Because you don't know what it's following.
Which one are you talking about? This one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because it's an absolute final. The ra is not going to stay an
Okay.
absolute
All
final.
right. Okay.
Yeah. That's a good question. It's a good question. Okay. Yeah, okay, I'm going to move on from that. General principles of, so this is the end of that section. We move on to consonant sandhi. Basically, the ar endings you're going to see is mainly these two adverbs, was kind of the point of this. All of this kind of gets a little bit muddled and confusing. Just the important thing is to remember that these are the words that you're going to see fairly often. General principles of consonant sandhi, just as avoidance of vowel hiatus is the general principle of sandhi, to a great extent, the overriding principle of consonant sandhi is avoiding contact of markedly dissimilar consonants, results in alteration of one feature of one or both sounds. So when two consonants come together and they're dissimilar, there will be some sort of change. So the first rule we have here is assimilation, the alteration of a sound to make it more like another sound. In general, a non-voiced final sparsha are those, the main block of consonants here in the middle, or any varga becomes the voiced non-aspirate of the same varga before a voiced initial. Svara, which means vowels, or vyanjana, which is consonants. In general, such finals are changed before non-voiced initials. So here, okay, here we have an example. Krodhat bhavati samoha, and it becomes krodad. So the ta becomes the voiced da in front of this voiced consonant bha. Yeah, we have the same situation here. Asit, asuraha becomes asid. Again, the ta becoming its voiced da in front of a voiced initial. All vowels are voiced. Then here the ta remains because the next is a unvoiced. All the sibilants are unvoiced. So the ta remains the same. This is good, everyone? Okay. We have an exception. Final ta, when it precedes an initial sparsha of the palatal class, palatal is the second mouth position, talavya, or cha varga. Sometimes the varga or the mouth position is referred to from its initial letter of that line, so the cha varga. or retroflex, or the retroflex class, that's the third mouth position, or murdhanya, or ta varga, becomes a de-aspirated sparsha of the same class, the same mouth position, as the initial, and is voiced or non-voiced, as in this rule above. So here we have tat chikirshati becoming touch chikirshati. So it's taking on the third, oh no, this is the cha is the second mouth position, or the same varga as the following sparsha, or the following consonant. And then we have the same here, tat jahati becomes taj jahati. This okay so far? Yeah, okay. Important note, final ta, when it precedes an initial sh, becomes cha, and the following sh becomes cha. Now this is a pretty tricky one, and one that we've seen, I think, fairly often in our translations and the exercises, so one to take note of. Tat shrutva kupitas abhavat shiva becomes touch, so this ta has become the palatal cha, and then this following sh, initial sh of the following word, becomes a cha. So we get touch, chrutva, kupito, and then these are other rules we saw previously. This is a 335, bhavach chiva. And again, this is the same 3.45 rule happening again. The ta going to the cha, and the sh going to cha. Good. External sandhi of nasals. An external consonant contact with a nasal assimilation may affect not only the voicing of a sparsha, but also its mode and even the point of articulation, oral or nasal, and the varga. So it might not just affect whether it's voiced or unvoiced, but also whether it's an oral sound, so these main sounds here, or a nasal sound. And the varga, so and the mouth position. So this can change these three qualities. Any word final stop, sparsha, before a word initial nasal, anunasika, becomes the nasal of its proper varga. So etat ma kuru becomes etan. This is the fourth mouth position. So the nasal of the fourth mouth position is na, because the next word started with a nasal. This ta became a na, ma kuru. And then here, similarly, vak, mayaha, became vang, mayaha. So this is the same nasal of the same mouth position as your ka, the first mouth position, your kantya mouth position. Okay, I'm going pretty quick.
Francis,
Yes.
in the next one, that you are going to, I want to make a slightly pedantic note. The following 3.48, before you hit it, 3.48, it says absolute final in this and in in the text, and then 48, I think you don't have it, and a little bit further, but it's not absolute final, it's a typo. I'm just saying it because it's already quite convoluted, and then there are some errors as well, which make things worse. Absolute final is when it ends, right? And those are just finals. And as you will see in the text, the texts almost always say final. So just to know that the word absolute here in 348, 49, and 50 are mistaken. Not a big deal.
It shouldn't be absolute final. It should just be final.
It should be final.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, as you see, those are not final in the examples.
Yeah, that's
not
true.
absolute finals, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, let's go back just really quickly since we're making this point. I think it'd be nice to review, and since we're going through these pretty quick, did I put it in here? 3.22, just to refresh everybody.
I had it
didn't
crossed also.
Yeah. Okay, we can just read. I didn't put this in. Hang on. You know what? Maybe I can open my Devavamipravesika so that we could look at what he actually, we can just reread that part.
As far as one is aware that there might be this type of problem, it's easy to spot which is which, right? But from the examples
but
themselves.
I think, yeah, for sure. I just think that this is like a point that maybe we can, since we have a little bit of time, let me find my Devavanipravesika, just so that people can review, because it can be confusing. What is
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
the final versus original final versus, okay, so it's 3.22, right? Let's go there. Okay. Is that right? 3.22. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Thanks. All right. So here. Initial and final positions. Since external Sandhi applies by definition at the junctures of words, it is useful to have a set of terms that describe sounds that occur at these junctures, namely at the beginning and end of words. The terminology for sounds occurring at the beginning of words is quite simple. Such sounds are called initial sounds or said to be in the initial position. There is no problem with this. We can all know what the beginning of a word is, so that's never an issue, I'm pretty sure. The situation for sounds that occur at the end of the words is, however, more complicated. This is so because sounds in the final position are liable to various kinds of change depending on whether another sound, an initial sound of a following word, follows them, and if one does, upon the nature of that sound. So whether that next sound is voiced or unvoiced, this sort of or what mouth position it might be in, this sort of thing. Therefore, when we refer to a sound that occurs at the end of the word, regardless of what may or may not follow it, we say that that sound is in word final or word final position. I think that's pretty obvious, word final at the end of the word. But then we get to this, I think the absolute and the original is what's tricky. So when we refer to a word final sound that has no other sound following it in a sentence as at the end of a sentence, or a single word cited by itself, we say that that sound is an absolute final position. So this is a word cited on its own, as it would be in a glossary, or at the word completely at the end of a sentence with nothing else following it, is an absolute final. Yes? And then in addition, we will also have occasion to refer to certain sounds that almost always change when they occur in word final position. Obviously, such sounds will usually be represented in final position by other sounds. We will call the original finals, which are important despite the fact that they rarely occur in final position, original finals. So there's like an original ending to a word, but then we learned that some letters can't end a word. So then they get changed to something else, or depending on what follows them next, the final is going to change, but it had an original final before it changed. So yes, so to just reiterate, for absolute final, it either has no other sound following it in the sentence, as at the end of a sentence, or a single word cited by itself. Hang on, no other sound following it in a sentence, as at the end of a sentence. Okay, let's go back to our rule, or our Sandhis that we were reviewing. Here it is. Because it is, yeah, when we we're moving on to 349, Sandhi of absolute final nasals. So an absolute final, again, refer to a word final sound that has no other sound following it in a sentence, as at the end of the sentence. So it's basically a word at the end of a sentence or a word on its own. Yeah, you're right. This is clearly not the end of the sentence. This is a word final. I guess you could say its original final here would be a ma, and then it becomes a ung, I believe. Anyhow, this is clearly a word final,
Yes,
and not
yes.
an absolute final.
Mhm.
Thank you for that clarification. It is a minor one, but one that might confuse people for sure. Okay, so Sandhi of, we can just say final nasals, even though this is the title of final nasals. Most important and most common, this rule is you're gonna see very often, and it's a pretty easy one, is final ma. And when you have a final ma, a word final ma, it becomes anusvara before any initial consonant, voiced or unvoiced. So if there's a consonant afterwards, it just becomes anusvara. So the ma becomes a little dot on top. No exceptions to this rule. Good to know. We see that one pretty often. So anytime you see a ma followed by any kind of consonant, it becomes anusvara. Treatment of, I guess we would also say just final na here, a final na in a word. Na is a common final and subject to the following changes. Final na before a non-voiced stop, sparsha, contacted consonants, again, that main group in the middle. Of the 3 sibilant vargas, so the sibilant vargas are, well, our 3 sibilants are sha, sha, and sa. Those are down here. We can't see because it's kind of tiny, but sha in the second mouth position, sha in the third mouth position, and sa in the dental position. So these are our 3 sibilant vargas. Second, third, fourth. Becomes anusvara. In addition, the sibilant from the same varga with the following initial is inserted between the and the final. So this is another case where there are 2 changes happening. Right before we saw that with tat and shrutva became tach, shrutva. Well, here we're going to have, again, two changes happening. We have kasmin chit nagare avasat raja, and it becomes kasming. This na became a or anusvara. And then this ch is of the second mouth position. And so the sibilant in the second mouth position gets inserted in between, and that's how we get the sh added. Kasminsh chin nagare vasadraja. Yeah. Oh, and then here, this is the rule that we saw previously. The t becomes a na, takes on the nasal of the same mouth position. Here, this is old. So this is the thing when you go through, and maybe this has been helpful for me, and maybe this will be good for you to do in your own text. When he does examples, then he puts in old examples of old of previous Sandhis that we've reviewed. So sometimes you think, oh yeah, all of these things are happening, even though this is an example specifically for Rule 351. He also put a 347 in there and a 3.20 in there and a 3.43. So this is kind of a good, anyways, in my estimation, and has been helpful for me. Whenever you notice these, you can add in the rule for yourself, and then you'll know what to go back to remind yourself what those rules were. Murkhan tyajati panditaha becomes murkhans. So here we have the na again going to a an anusvara. And then the next word begins with a ta, which is in the fourth mouth position. And so the sibilant from the fourth mouth position is sa, and that gets inserted in between the words. Markhans tyajati panditaha. Is that good? Great. Final n before a voiced initial of the talavya. Talavya is the second. Is that right? Second mouth. Yes, second mouth position. I'm questioning myself. Second mouth position, or murdhanya, which is the third mouth position, vargas, becomes the nasal of that varga. So we have Dhanavan, Jayati, Indra. So ja is from the second mouth position. And so this nasal here at the end of the word final nasal becomes nya before the ja. Just assimilates to the same mouth position as that next consonant because it's in the second mouth position. The same would happen if it was a consonant of the third mouth position. So this is for second or third. The word final na will take on the nasal of the next word, second or third mouth position. Okay. Final na before an initial sh becomes nya, and the final sh becomes cha. Compare with 345. Okay, we can go back to 345 since this is going pretty quick. Madhuran Shabdan Shranoti becomes Madhuran Shabdan. Oh, Shranoti. Oh my goodness, this is a really hard one to pronounce, you guys. Madhuran Shabdan Shranoti. So yes, my goodness, this happens twice here. Two nas meeting two shas. So the na is taking on this is a second mouth position, and then the sha, the second mouth position sha becomes cha. This is a funky rule. I don't know how many times we've seen this, but good to know. And it says to compare to 345. So why don't we go back there since we have the time. When ta precedes a cha, it becomes cha, and the following sha becomes cha. Okay, so this is both these situations. The sha becomes cha. Here the ta becomes cha, and here the na. Here the na became nya. So, just I think maybe the similarity he's pointing out is that in both cases, in both cases, the sha is becoming cha. Okay, 354. Final na before the initial la becomes anusvara, and an additional la is inserted before the original one. So yeah, this is definitely an interesting one, and I think one that would be pretty obvious because we don't usually see two consonants like this coming together. Well, certainly not the la's. Uttaman lokan labhate dharmanyaha. So here the na has gone to a and then another la is inserted in there. Uttamang lokan, oh my goodness, lokan labhate dharmanyaha. So here again, he did it twice. There was a whole discussion about this special, an anusvara that has a little line underneath it. Hang on, I have a note from Arjun. It's got a special name.
Chandrabindu.
Chandrabindu, yes, that's what it's called. It has like a, yeah,
The
to produce. Yeah,
like
it's in the ohm. It is in the ohm. I'm just trying to figure out if there is, the lips don't come into contact. I wouldn't do that for a regular anusvara anyhow. The anusvara is heard after the vowel, while the chandra bindu is a nasalization produced simultaneously with the vowel, is what Janaki had given us as the differentiation between the two. So I don't know how you would do it, to be honest, nasalization simultaneously with a vowel. I'm used to pronouncing it after the vowel. So I would do like, just, let's say if I was just doing utamang, I wouldn't go all the way to closing my lips. You go like towards the m sound, but you don't actually at the end. And then doing a nasalization with a vowel, I don't know that I would know exactly how to do that. Is there anybody, let's just see in the group, who knows how to do that? No? All right.
Anyway, the next
We'll practice for next time.
the next word. No, I mean the next word begins with an L. So what can you do with that?
Yeah, it would be utamang, and then you would go to the l.
Got
But you
double
have to
L?
make, but you have to make that sound. It can't just be utamal, because you need to insert the nasalization in between. My pronunciation's not perfect. I'm just doing it as best I can with my
Oh,
experience
really?
and my experience and my knowledge and my practice. But yeah, I mean, and these are really tough ones to pronounce. Okay, so
Francis, there's a
yes.
view which is very relaxing for me, that no one knows how it was exactly pronounced.
Yeah, when Professor Bryant said that,
yeah,
when Professor Bryant said that in class, that was a relief for me too, because this is true. You get a lot of people very certain of how it should be pronounced, and of course, their teacher learning from their teacher, and that's also a good way of, you know, of trying to study down through a lineage, so you can kind of get a sense that this has happened through generations. But yeah, there is going to be a difference in pronunciation depending on region, depending on accent, just like any language. And yeah, even for English, you know, and any other language, there's assumptions made about how things were pronounced thousands of years ago. So we're not exactly sure. But the beautiful thing about Sanskrit is that there is like description of mouth position and articulation and voicing and breath. So it kind of gives us at least a little bit of a roadmap to a sense of how it is pronounced versus, you know, our English alphabet that has different sounds for the same letter and then changes drastically according to accent and all this sort of a thing.
And then this situation is not in the Gita and it's not in the sutras.
Oh, this particular rule.
Meaning we could hear it if not. We can listen to those slokas being chanted or verses, and you don't. So, I mean, it's not very common.
This particular rule.
Yeah.
Yes,
I mean, you don't have it in the Gita, you don't have it in the sutras. Of course, there are a lot more text, but I mean, chanted, no.
Yeah, it would be pretty tough to chant. Yeah, I agree.
Would it be uttamam lokam labate? Is that how it goes or no?
Well, you're asking me, Arati. Technically, from what I have learned, you wouldn't actually go all the way to pronouncing the ma. It would just be a nasalization after the ah. So it wouldn't be uttamam. It would be uttamang lokang labhate.
Okay.
I believe from what I know. But if you have new information
No.
next time,
I don't. I'm just asking you. Would it? Okay, got it.
that would be, and I'm happy to check with my team if this is of deep interest to the group. But as far as I know, with my knowledge, that wouldn't be a completely closed mouth at the end of the sound. It would just be going towards the nasalization, and then you move to the next letter.
Thank you.
No problem. Final nga. This is nga, first mouth position. Na, third mouth position, and na are written as doubled when they occur after a short vowel. I think anytime you see like a strange doubling, this will be a sign that some kind of sandhi is going on. So they are doubled when they occur after a short vowel and precede any initial vowel. Stuvan agachati becomes stuvan agachati. So double na there. Yeah, Hasan Iva, Hasaniva. So you have to, when there's a double consonant, usually kind of pause a bit. You usually clip the previous, I don't know if I'm doing the best job here, but you clip a little, you shorten a little the preceding vowel, and then you would spend a little longer on the doubled consonant. So chitta is the easiest one for me to do because we see it a lot. Chitta. So gachati, something like this, more or less. So a little bit of a pause on the consonant when it's doubled up. So double nasal. these both have got added in an extra nasal in between. So just know that a double, oh yes, this is for when we go to look to translate something. Often a double nasal is really a single. So when we go to look up a word, this is just a clue for ourselves. It will to take one of the nasals off when we want to look up a word, the meaning of a word in the dictionary, for example. Okay. And then initial ha after a final sparsha becomes the voiced, aspirated sparsha of the varga of the preceding final. Goodness gracious. Okay, so if we look at an example, it will become more clear. Etat harati chauraha. So here we have the ha, and then it becomes the voiced aspirated of the sparsha of the varga preceding the final. So preceding of the preceding final. Oh goodness gracious. Of the preceding word, let's say. So here, this sparsha or this varga, the position of this letter is fourth mouth position. So we want to find the voiced letter of that mouth position and also add aspiration. So the t becomes a d, but then also with aspiration. So dha. But then here, because now the ha has become a dha, this previous ta, the previous word final ta, will also become a da. This is rule 3.43 that we saw previously. So because now it is followed by a voiced, it has become da. Da instead of ta. Right? I think the same thing, yeah, the same thing happens down here. Vak, he, devata becomes vaghi, devata. So the ha has taken on the same mouth position as the last letter of the preceding word, which is ka. Ka is the first varga, the first mouth position. So the voiced of ka is ga. And then you add voicing and it becomes ga. And then this ka becomes its voiced version, ga. Yes. Is this okay?
Yep.
All right. Internal Sandhi, and we'll see more of these when we get to chapter 7. Internal Sandhi, so this one, two simple but important and very common internal Sandhi changes. Sa becoming sha, and then na becoming na. So becoming the cerebral mouth position. The dental sibilant ushman sa, so the fourth mouth position sibilant, if not in word final position or followed by the semi-vowel antastha, ra, is changed to sh if immediately preceded in a word by any vowel other than a vowels or by the consonants ka or ra. The thing about these last two rules, and there's like very specific conditions to both of them happening. So it's like you think, oh, there is, the sha in there, so this must, the sa here, and there's a ra before, it must go to sha, but then there's specific letters that intervene that can change whether the rule actually happens or not. Okay, so we have si dati vanam gachati will become, why is it Rama sits but sit? Oh, is it doing two different examples? Goodness gracious. So these kind of don't really go together. That's confusing. These are two different examples. You have sidati plus vanam gachati, and this, nothing happens. And then you have Ramo Vanam Gachati. Where's the Vishidati? Maybe I copied, I'm so sorry. Maybe I copied this example wrong. Let me check my text.
No, it's like
No,
this in the
Vishidati
book.
is okay.
It's
And then
okay?
The VC is like the upasarga or something.
I'm just confused as to why Sidati, he sits, but then the Ramo Vanam. I'm confused about this example in the text because it's trying to show how the sa goes to a sh. Correct.
Yeah,
It's
and
internal Sandhi,
I
I
think it's
think.
7 or something.
Okay, it's
Isn't it just a word initial? Dental sibilant, if not
yeah,
a word
you're right.
initial.
I'm just wondering, I think I added this. I think this isn't supposed to be here. This part at the bottom.
I
I'm
can't
confusing
see
myself.
that. I can't
Yeah.
see that in the book.
Yeah, so it's just this. I'm just, I think I copied something from another section and that's why it was confusing. Sorry. Yeah, so Sidati, he sits, but then Vishidati, this was just showing that by adding the upasarga V prior, then the sa has now become a sh. That's what's happening there. And that's because it's preceded by a vowel other than a. So this e vowel preceding the sa has now made the sa a sh. Yeah, that's what's going on there. All the stuff at the bottom was a mistake to have been there. We have su, the locative plural ending, kanyasu, so among maidens, but deveshu, because this prior vowel to the sa makes the sa a sha. This is good. Here we have si as a second person singular ending. Si, you eat, but bhu nak shi. So thus u, prior to the si ending, has turned the si to a shi. The u doesn't need to be right next to the sa for the sa to become a sha. So you see there's several letters intervening here, but there's still an u prior to it. Oh, there's even an a there, but that doesn't matter because there's an u all the way back here. Sya, the future tense marker, dasyati, he will give, but bhavishyati, because again, here this is an e and not an a. Great. So whenever you see a sha, there is a great possibility that it used to be a sa, is kind of the takeaway from that, again, when we're going to be looking upwards. And then this last one, 359, if na is preceded in a word by sha, ra, ri, r, or ri, and if no ta lavya, second mouth position, murdhanya, third mouth position, or dantya, fourth mouth position consonant, except for the letter ya, intervenes between the two, then the na is changed to na if it is immediately followed by a vowel, semivowel, or nasal. So many conditions for this one. So usually, if it's preceded by a sha, ra, ra, ri, then you would think the na becomes our na. But then if there are intervening consonants, this might not be the case. And it also needs to be followed by a vowel, semivowel, or nasal to become arna. But similarly, if you see arna, you should also look it up, whatever the word may be, without the cerebralization, with a dental na, because it might have undergone some kind of internal sandhi change. Do you have a question,
The
Eleonora?
example that I have there is Krishna.
Krishna, yes, which is a great example. Krishna. Krishna has a ra and a sha and a na. So it's just all inside your mouth there in the middle. Yeah. Questions? No? All right. I thought we had so much time, but actually now we have 15 minutes, right, Alice, to do some exercises?
Well, yeah, you normally we do questions after the exercises, but it doesn't really matter. We've got
Okay.
we're going to break out at 1/4 past the hour. So
Okay.
if there's no questions, we can do more exercises.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever you
Perfect.
think.
Well, are there any questions right now? It was kind of like a lot to take in. But maybe there will be questions that come up when we do exercises.
It is a lot to take in, but it is when you get the handouts. I think I might have emailed them to most people, but
yeah, you know what? I might read because there was that little corrections that I made, so I might I'll re-email it to you.
Yeah, and it is nice to see just the kind of the main golden rules. It makes it feel more manageable. I think that's how it was for me. So
for sure. And I think that tip I was giving everybody in terms of writing down the Sandhis when you find them, when you find a strange one or something like this, or when there's several within a phrase, that's really good practice to get into, just so you can notice when they come up. Okay, so I know we have different editions, so I think I'll just pick random ones, and then if you have specific ones you have questions about, we'll see if we can figure them out together. Then I'll start with, so this is in my text from lesson 3. This is going to be number 3. So all of these are going to be from, we did a few up until 3.25 last time. So this is going to be exercises from 3.26 to 340. And then there's the last one. This is just exercises for the entire lesson. So we'll do a couple of hopefully more straightforward ones. Let's do. Okay, let's see. I don't know if you are able to see me writing.
What are you doing, Danu?
Yeah. Danu Udaharat. Thank you. Da ha ra da. Great. Yeah. We already got the answer from Eleonora, so it's da nu.
Oh, right? I'm sorry. I meant to dictate to you so that you won't go back to the paper. Sorry.
So no, that's okay. That's fine.
Spoil anything.
No worries, no worries. It's okay. We'll do it. We'll do another example. Udaharat. You were being helpful. I see. Don't worry. Danu udaharat. So now what rule do we think is going to happen here? Of course, we've been looking at a lot of these Visarga rules. So there must be something that happens there, you would think. Any guesses or anyone have the rule number?
I have it all written down.
Yes. Does anybody else know? Otherwise, we'll get Eleonora to let us know. But anyone else do their exercises and know what rule this is?
3.
So we have
29.
3.B.
3.29b, right. So if we look at 3.29b, it says this is with when there is the other vowels preceding the Visarga, and then there is a following voiced initial, right? What happens? 3.29b, what happens?
R
becomes
drops.
This
it drops, but sorry for being pedantic again, but technically in the minds of Goldman's it's an S. It's a S.
Right.
Which is dropped.
Yeah. It's just, this is how it's written in the exercise, but yes, we could get it. We don't, yeah, this is what we see in our book, but this is, yeah, this originally, this is.
Oh, no, it goes to, it goes to R.
Yeah.
It goes to
It goes to a R. Let's just, yes.
Yeah. It's not dropped, but goes to a R.
Goes to a R.
I'm just pinpointing this because sometimes the S goes to Visarga, so you could not start from a Visarga.
Mm-hmm. This is true. When does the S go to a Visarga?
Well, it's to a Visarga if it's non-voiced consonant.
Non-voiced. Yeah. If the next word starts by a non-voiced. Yes, this is true.
Even worse in terms of this peculiar approach of Goldman's, if no of the rules applies, no rules from them applies, then the s remains, which in other books you will see as a change from visarga to s. So that's why it's important to stick with their way of thinking.
Right. Well, just stick with this was what was written in our text.
Okay.
And we know that but yes, this has been a back and forth thing. And you know, this, depending on which teacher you're with, they'll teach it in different ways. But yes, this is going to become a ra because of the following voiced sound. Yes? So this will become dha, nur, u, da, ha, oops, sorry, ha, ra. I should have covered that first, but here we go. Dhanuru daharat. Dhanuru daharat. Oops. There's something special with the ra. It actually comes out of the belly of the letter. My bad. So for a ra, when it gets combined with u, it doesn't scoop under, it scoops next to the letter.
I use guru to remember.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good example, guru. Yeah, and it scoops this way if it's short, and if it's long, it scoops this way. But this is a short one, so it goes that way. Yeah. All right. We'll do another example. Let's try to do an example of something that's not the same. Oh, here. This is going to be more of a review one. So I don't want to do an example of the same thing. Okay. I have Oh. Ah. Happens when you get a short E in a word. Okay. Okay. You see that? Sorry, I got kind of small at the end. What does that say?
Gataha asmi aham.
Gataha asmi aham. So these are actually earlier rules. Gataha asmi aham. So these are ones that we didn't see today. These are ones we saw last time. So something's going to happen here, right? And these are two dissimilar vowels. Anybody knows what happens to this visarga? Or what rule it is?
Oh.
Oh, what rule is that?
Maybe it's 3-3.
335.
335. We've got a 335. And it does become O. Wait, I should put it in Devanagari first. Ga. Do. Right? And then what happens to this?
Drops.
It drops. Right.
Well,
so we've got to.
It's really a, what, how do you call? Not a hyphen, what?
Avagraha?
Agraha.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. In English, it would, in the transliteration, it'll appear as an apostrophe, but this is called an avagraha, which shows that a letter has been elided. And then we would have the rest of the word, which is, again, I forgot my short E, sme, sma, e. Okay, so we have gato, smi, and then, oh, actually, before I write that, what happens here?
You don't want
No,
that because you want a semi-vowel. Smia.
Yes.
You have
this.
a compound of three consonant. Smia.
Yes, it's going to become
It's a compound of three consonant.
Yeah, a 3-consonant conjunct, but that's because this becomes its semi-vowel when it is followed by an and this is which rule is this?
No idea.
It is 3.8, I believe. 3.8. Is that correct?
or 9.
3.8 or 9?
Yep.
Yeah, sometimes one rule takes more than one number. Well, 3.8. So this will be, is it 8?
3.8 and 9. 9, it
8.
kind of gives examples, but the rule is written in 8.
Okay, perfect. So we have gato, then we have smi, but this e becomes a y. It's semi-vowel. It's corresponding semi-vowel. So we have s, m, y. So this is smia, gato, smia, and then we have the rest of our word here. Gato, smiaham. Yeah. Okay. We'll do one more. Ooh.
Shouldn't we do the following one?
The following one?
Yeah. To see the difference, I mean.
Sure. Oh, yeah, good idea. I like that. Let's do that. Okay, this will be our... How much time did you say we have, Alice? We want to break out like after this example, no?
Well, we want to break out at 15:15, so it's 15 minutes. So it depends if people have questions.
Okay, yeah, we can look at other ones if you want, if there's questions, but I'll do this one as the last from our... So we have gata, long right? Yeah. Sorry, I took 2 lines for this one, but so this is gata, long asmi, aham. Great. Oh yeah, this one's pretty straightforward. This one's not a tricky one. What happens here?
Nadirga. Nadirga. So it's basically just one single long
A single long So whether you get 2 short ahs or a long and a short and the combo, it will become one single long So we still have our gata, but then we can just tack on our smi, gata smi, right? And then here, oh, actually I did it again. We can do this because again, we have the same rule happening over here. So this is 3.3, this is 3.8. So it becomes gata. Again, we have our 3 consonant conjunct, smia, and then gata smiaham instead of what we had before, which was gato smiaham. Right? Good. All right. Does anyone have one that they wanted to look at or any questions about any specific rules? I can look at one because these were all from number 3. There was also 4, and those had some of the ones that we looked at today. Yeah, maybe we could do 1 or 2 of those, but unless there's questions. Just keep doing these. And please feel free to unmute yourself if something comes up. We'll do this. This is the first one in number 4. Ekas. Mean. Is that it? Yes. Who can read this? Tell me what this says. Hopefully my handwriting. Ekasmincha. All right. This is one of the rules we saw today. What is going to happen here in ekasmincha?
N becomes anusvara.
The N is going to go to anusvara.
You add an S.
An S. Which S?
Versibilant.
This, yeah, the Murdanya.
Is it Murdanya? What's this mouth position?
Or Talavya.
Sorry, did you have some?
No.
Sorry, there's 2 people talking. Did you have something to say, Federico?
Well, it's anusvara and sh, the first sh.
The first sh, because this is, you had it, Matthew. What mouth position is this?
That would be Talavya.
Talavya, which is second mouth position. So the sibilant from the second mouth position is sh. And this gets inserted. Well, I shouldn't do it like this because this gets inserted here. And then we get a ka. Smin. How do I do this? How do I do this letter like this? Shh. Oh, actually, can't do this because cha is a special conjunct consonant. It looks like this. Ekasmincha. Yeah? These are the sh conjuncts. We often have this shortened version of the consonant in Devanagari. All right. Okay, we'll do
3.51.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I didn't put what rule it was. 3.51. Is that what I have here? Yep. Ekasmincha. 3.51. All right. Let's do this one's pretty quick. Okay, we'll do this one as the last one. Who can read what this says?
Shot Mukaha. Oh, no, no, no,
Shut.
no, no.
Oops.
No, see.
Shut.
Mukaha.
Yep. Shut.
I have it. Mukaha.
Yeah, these are tricky sometimes because you could think it's mukaha or you could think it's muravaha, but this is shut. Shut.
I've been taught that the
Mukaha.
first part of that that KH comes like holding the V. So that makes a difference.
Like goes to hug it a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah, so that makes a difference.
This becomes kind of tricky when it comes to fonts, right? You can't always tell. Yeah. So we have shat, mukhaha, and then something will happen here in front of this nasal. We can find where that rule is from today, and this will be our last example. We can chat after.
Boiler.
Something like, I think there are two changes, possibly. I'm just going, I don't know the rules. I'm just going by sound. The t should turn into D, and then the D should turn into an M, so you would get it double. Shamukha. Something like that. I don't know.
That's okay. This is good. This is good testing because, as Paul's pointing out, a lot of these Sandhis are for like fluidity of speech or fluidity of phrasing. So we'll look at the rule that I have marked down for this example. 347. Any word final stop, which we have here, da. Before a word initial nasal, we have ma. Anunasika is a nasal, becomes the nasal of its proper varga. This is what I have listed as the rule for that. So the nasal of its proper varga. What varga is this? Da, with a dot underneath.
Murdanya.
Murdanya, that's correct. Murdanya is third. So what is the nasal from the third mouth position?
Na.
Ra inside your mouth, ra. So it would be
No.
sha. And then we have, so here we have a conjunct. So this final bar comes off of our na, and then we get mu. Shan mukha. So yeah, this is actually a not too complicated one. Just the last letter here takes on its nasal form. Be this in transliteration.
Would it be correct to use virama or not?
Virama. Oh, in between? Like if you use virama in between, yeah, it would be like this.
Yeah. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, Professor Bryant was saying, like, sometimes this is done, there are some that are more complex and so difficult to write out, but I mean, it's not incorrect, but technically it would become the conjunct, and so this would,
all right,
and this would be this, but it's, yeah, you could write it that way and it would still say shan mukaha. All right, I think that's pretty good for today. I'll remove my spotlight. Yeah, I think Sandhis, in my opinion and in my studies, is just a matter of constantly going back and looking it up, even if you tell yourself, oh yeah, this is a 335, you know, maybe after a while you go, I know what's happening with that one. But to go back and just to remind yourself of what the actual rule is. And I often go back, the last two that we had today, the 358 and 359, with the sa becoming sha and the na becoming na. I often go back to those just because there's so many conditions, like with intervening letters or the following letters, that can make that change happen or not. But I think the important takeaway, it's depending on what is your study is focused on. If it's just being able to figure out what word to look up in the dictionary, just knowing to look up both with the cerebral and the dental na, or with the cerebral and the palatal sha, or sa, or the dental or cerebral sa, sha, then it's more about being able to figure out how to look up the words so you can figure out a definition than, you know, knowing the exact rule, unless you're writing something, composing something yourself and trying to figure out. Sometimes also it can come into play when we're doing endings, like declensions. The declension ending might be anam, but depending on what the preceding root word. Oh, I looked this up the other day. A word, because we know the verb before the ending is added, that root verb is called a dhatu. And the root word before the ending is added is called the pratipadika. So depending on what the pratipadika is, if it has a ra in it or a sha in it, it might change the ending. The ending might become a na or a sha instead of a sa or a na. That makes sense? Yeah, but then I honestly, I pretty much look the rule up almost every time to be sure. All right. Well, I think that's it for my section for today. Did you have something to add before we break out in rooms, Alice?
No, but thank you very much. That was excellent, Francis.
Okay. So you can go into rooms and just chat for a little bit, see if there's something that came up for you, or just share how your studies are coming along. And we'll meet back here afterwards. Leah's frozen, so I don't know if she's actually still there or not.